Okay, here we go. We're going to be looking at English, the Anglo-Saxon layer of English, and we're going to be looking at prefixes. Now, in fact, with prefix, we got to fix because pre means before and fix means like to fasten. So prefix is an element placed at the beginning of a word to adjust or qualify the meaning. And so we're going to be looking at Anglo-Saxon prefixes in this lesson. And most of these, by the way, are prepositions. Prepositions are words often showing location like above, under, through, by, around, and so on. So number one, read these with me. We have for. So our first word is for, and the word get. So we have forget, like when you can't remember something. And then the past tense of that is forgot, like I forgot my Anglo-Saxon prefix. Let's hope not. Next we have forbid. Bid's an old way to bid or to ask somebody to do something. And forbid is to ask him, please don't do it. So when you forbid somebody, perhaps you are forbidden to chew gum in your classroom. Next, it's the command. Next, we have forgive. And forgive is when someone's done something against us and they tell us they're sorry, and so we forgive them. Next is forsake. And if someone forsakes you, that means that they turn against you and they won't talk to you anymore. Next, we have forbear. And here the word bear is not a two-legged bear by any means, although it's even spelled that way, but it means to like bear or to put up with. So to forbear means that you put up with something that somebody does. Maybe it bothers you if somebody taps a pencil on a table or something like that, and you decide not to worry about it. So forbear means just to put up with something that somebody's doing that irritates you. Next one, we have in, and so we're going to put the word to. So now we got actually two prepositions, into. Next we take side, we have inside, like inside the house, and indoors. That means you're inside the house on the inside of the doors. Number three, we have the preposition with, and so we have without, like you ran out of candy, so you're without candy. Withstand, in a storm, will the house stand or not? Can it withstand the wind? Withstood is the past tense of withstand, and so the house withstood the wind and it wasn't hurt. Withhold, when you withhold something from somebody, you won't give it. You won't give it to them. When somebody's holding something from you, they withhold it. Sometimes it's called a withholding. Next we're going to put with and in together, two prepositions. So now we have within, which is another way to say inside. Withdraw, when you put money in the bank, when you go and take it out, it's called a withdrawal. It means to withdraw. You withdraw the money. And the next one is withdrawal. So that's what you call what you do when you withdraw the money. It's called a withdrawal. And finally, withdrew is the past tense of withdrawal over there. And I don't want that to stay there, so we'll tell it to go away. Next we have be. And because, Mr. Potter's teaching Anglo-Saxon prefixes, because he wants you to be a better reader. Became, Mr. Potter became a very good reader when he learned all of his prefixes. And later we're going to study suffixes at the end of the word, and then we'll study roots in the middle of the word. And finally we'll study combining forms in Greek. So we have a lot ahead of us here that's going to make you a fantastic reader. Stick with me and you'll be amazed. Your teachers and parents are going to be amazed. Next we have become. Study hard and you will become a good student. Befriend is a great word. When you make a friend, you befriend them. Behold is a great word. In the Bible, we read where it says, behold the man, talking about Jesus. Behold just means look here, pay attention, behold. Next we have beheld, which is simply the past tense of behold. Besiege is a word that not many of my students know. And let me explain it. A siege is when you have a city and the army comes up to the city and they draw up the drawbridge and nobody can get in let's say a castle. And so they come up to the castle and they're going to go in and they're going to conquer the people. And so they put up the bridge and the archers and everybody gets up on the towers, and they got in the walls, they got their arrows, and so to climb up that wall would be like, which just wouldn't work. So they think, well, what we'll do, we're going to surround the city with our army, and we're not going to let anybody in or anybody out. So now they can't get food in, they can't get, maybe they water, whatever, and so they're going to starve them out. So when you besiege a city, you try to overcome the city by denying the people the resources they need to survive. And there are many cases in history of castles or cities falling after they were besieged by the enemy. Next we have behind. Notice the I, we've studied that in our basic phonics. If you studied the natural phonics primer, you know all about that. Words like kind, wine, blind, have the I sound. Next we have be little. Now I know you know what little is, like you have a little cat or a little dog. When you belittle somebody, you make them feel bad, like they're little and they're not worth very much. So you don't ever want to say to somebody, "Wow, you're not as smart as me," or "You're not as good looking as I am." You don't want to belittle people. You can't do that. We should be building each other up and encouraging one another. And then before. Of course, that's the opposite of after. Before. The next prefix is over. So we have overlook. The main use of that word is when something's in front of you, you don't see it, you overlook it. People laugh. I'm real good at finding four-leaf clovers. I never overlook a four-leaf clover. Next we have overcome. And when somebody has a disability or a problem and they're able to overcome it. I might mention that I have hearing aids, and these hearing aids help me to overcome my hearing loss and to go and to be able to teach and help people read better and be better in school. Next, we have overbearing, and that's a pretty interesting word. Teachers need to be strict, and they need to make sure that the children obey. And yet, on the other hand, you don't want to be overbearing. The Bible says for fathers not to provoke their children to wrath, and that simply means to be overbearing. You need to be loving and kind and actually fun-loving, yet on the other hand, not making it so hard by being so demanding. I want my kids all to do good in school, but straight hundreds, that's pretty hard to do. And so that would be overbearing probably to expect somebody never, ever to make a mistake. Next, we have overworked, and that pretty well explains itself. That's when somebody's been working way too much and they need to back off, get some sleep, have a little vacation. Overlearn is a very important word in education, because it's one thing to learn something and to make 100%. But there is a level above 100% where that you get this 100%, but you get it fast. In other words, not only can you spell all the words on your spelling list, but how fast can you spell them? Not only can you read a book accurately, but how quickly? Does it take you a week to get through a book, or does it take you a couple hours to get through a book? So when you overlearn something, you know it so well that you do it really fast. Next, we have overwhelm. When you have too much going on or too much work, you can feel overwhelmed. Oversee is very interesting. The word see, of course, is to see with your eyes, and to oversee, that means you're watching somebody else and making sure they're doing their work correctly. Your principal at your school would be an example of an overseer. Overdrawn is when you have taken too much money out of the bank and not enough money in it, or you've written a check for a certain amount of money and you don't have enough money in the bank to cover it, and you'll get something in the mail that says you overdrawn and you're probably going to owe a little bit. Overcooked. Oh, you've probably seen that before. You put something in the microwave or the oven and you cook it too long, you bring it out and it's not even worth eating. Maybe it's burned. Overpowered is good examples of that are cars that have way bigger engines than what they need. When I grew up, we had cars called, we call them muscle cars. I had a Thunderbird with a 352, a very big engine in it. And it was really overpowered for a teenager. I didn't need a car with that big a motor in it. Overachieve is somebody who really wants to do well, but they may go a little bit overboard on it. Overreach is when you try to do something, but it's really beyond your ability to do, and it's not good actually to overreach. Then we have a bystander. That's an interesting word. Let's say that you see somebody commit a crime and you're standing there and you watch and the policeman grabs a guy and takes him in. Well, you didn't really do anything. You just stood there and watched it. So a bystander is just somebody that's standing, where we get the word stand in there, and they stand by, they're a bystander. And then byline, now that's an interesting word. Sorry about that. Got out of, there we go. A byline, by the way, is a line in an article that lists the author's name or the writer's name. All right, that is our lesson 1, and good luck learning all of these. Most of these are pretty easy. The Anglo-Saxon level was pretty well covered in your basic phonics, and that's why I didn't go into the Anglo-Saxon roots. We're just going to look at the prefixes and suffixes, and it will give you a good idea what a prefix and suffix is. But where you're really going to start profiting and seeing your reading improve is when we do the Romance level, that is the Latin and French level of English.